Woodcraft here. I am going to the Woodstock Wood Show this year, 2018. Be my first year as a vendor, and I've been asked to do a 1-hour seminar on something turning related. So I decided what I would do is make a tool handle, show people how they can save some money by making their own tools. It's just one of the many things you can do with wood lathes. Obviously you're making things, and hopefully you're making things that you can use yourself. So this is a couple of crude handles that I made a long time ago. This one's not even level, it's crooked, as you can see. When I first started wood turning, I tried traditional tools and I couldn't sharpen them. I went to carbide and I stayed with carbide for a while, but I never really bothered making a proper handle, so I did use these for quite some time, and then finally got myself a proper sharpening system, and now I'm back on the traditional tools and some carbide for hollowing and such. But these are some great affordable tools that you can purchase from Kilian tools, actually is where I got these from. And I'm going to make some handles for these part way. Anyway, I'm going to make 4 handles part way through various stages, because I'm going to be using those to finish with the seminar at the Woodstock Wood Show. So I've got some wood here that I've got. It's all reclaimed lumber. This is a piece of walnut. I don't even remember where I got it from. It's about 1 3/4 inches thick. This is a piece of red oak which I got from Hiram Walker's whiskey barrel building. And some Canadian maple, which was from one of the job sites I was working on years ago, back in 2000. So I've had this piece of wood sitting around in my workshop for 18 years after it was torn out of the building. So it's probably a very old piece of wood. For the ferrule on these, this was never finished, it was never glued in place. It's basically a piece of copper tubing or a coupling for a copper pipe, and that just basically holds those fibers together so that the end doesn't blow out. And this bar is into the handle by about 3 inches. What I've got here is some extra couplings, various sizes, a couple of sizes. I think it's 1/2 inch and 3/4, or is it 3/4 and 1 inch? 3/4 and 1 inch. And you can cut these in half, they don't need to be the full length. You can do that on the lathe. It's soft enough that you can cut it with your tools. Okay, so I'm going to cut down some lumber into various pieces for 4 handles. Did I say 4 candles? Anybody got any O's? Okay, so to make a start, I've got 2 pieces of wood now, a piece of the red oak and a piece of the maple, and I'm going to basically cut them as wide as they are thick, so that they're basically square, nice spindle blanks, and they're quite long, in fact. Which is good, because then I'll have room to part off both ends. That one's 24 inches and that one's 23 inches. So all I'm going to do to get the right distance is to place it against the fence, run it up alongside the blade and lock it in. And there's my 2 maple blanks for turning the handles. Okay, so there's my 4 blanks, 2 maple and 2 red oak. So what I'm going to do now is mark the center on all 8 ends so that we can put it between centers and we can start making our tool handles. Alright, so now that we've got X marks a spot on each end, we can go ahead with an awl and just make a small hole in that, just so that we can get the drive spur and the life center in the ends, so we can put it between centers, get it trued up and start making our tools. Okay, so we're going to take the life center and the mallet. I really do need to make a new mallet. This one's taken a beating. We're going to drive these into one end of each of the blanks so that they're ready to mount to the lathe. So you want to lock your quill at this point just to make sure that the wood doesn't go anywhere when it's spinning. You don't want it coming loose and flying off at you because it's only held between centers. So definitely lock that quill. And that's ready to turn. So I'm going to be using my roughing gouge to get this down to round. Isn't that ironic, making a handle for a carbide tool with a traditional tool? What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a tenon on the end, which is going to go into my long jaws, and then I can put my chuck and I can mount this in the chuck. It'll be a lot more secure, and then I can actually drill my hole in the end to accommodate the tool. That's going to go in about 3 inches, and then we can start working on the entire length, and we can still put it between centers. I will make my ferrule end and put the ferrule on with the hole in the middle of it, and I can actually put my live center in the hole because the ferrule is going to support that from the live center. See how true it is. Bring the tailstock up, put it back in the same hole. Tighten the quill. And tighten the chuck. Now we've got a good grip on that. Shouldn't go anywhere. Famous last words. Okay, so now we're going to true this whole thing up, and then we're going to drill the hole in the end with the Jacob's chuck, and then we'll make that ferrule end. Okay, so this is actually the second one. I've got to the same state as the first one. Very beautiful piece of maple. Very nice indeed. So it's a nice girth too, I guess. It's going to be nice. It's going to be a nice tool handle. So okay, so what we're going to do now is going to take this one down to the next stage. I'm going to true the whole piece up, and then I'm going to get the ferrule on the end. Again, making sure that the tool rest is level and straight with the bedways. That way you're going to get a better cut. It's going to be consistent. As long as you don't have nicks in your tool rest as well, that could be a cause for an issue. So let's get this piece trued up. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put the Jacob's chuck in and drill our hole in the end of this blank about 3 inches in to accommodate the toolbar. So I've decided that the maple, I'm going to use the larger toolbars, and the oak I'm going to go with the smaller toolbars. So I have to make sure I get the right size drill bit as well, because they're both different. Okay, so at this point I've got the ferrule onto my mortise and I've cut through it. I actually used a carbide tool on slow speed, the corner, just to get an indentation, and then I held a hacksaw over it and it basically cut right through it. So I can now separate it pretty simply just with a pair of pliers. There you go, it just comes off right there. And then that's a good ferrule for the next one. So now I need to just clean this end up and then I can drill my hole. And we're in there by a good 3 inches, which basically is the entire threaded portion of the bar. And that will thread in there nicely, and add a small amount of epoxy, making sure that it's straight with the tool. At this point you can actually start shaping your tool. And so this one I'm going to use my bowl gouge. You could use a skew, you could use scrapers, you could use a spindle gouge, whatever you really want to use you could use within reason. I just happen to really enjoy this tool, my Ellsworth bowl gouge, so that's what I'm going to be using today. So I'm going to just make this cove here, and then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to bead it over and then make a nice form handle. I actually like the handle that this tool has, so I'm going to somewhat replicate this shape. That's the plan anyway. So I can actually lay this tool alongside of it and mark out where my beads and coves are. So there's my largest diameter, so it beads in from there and then down to here. That's the lowest point of the bead, and then it starts coming up to the end of the tool. Do this on fast speed, relatively fast speed, you get much better cuts. I got a shape now that I'm pretty happy with, so what I'm going to do is sand this from 150 down to 400 grit. Okay, so I've got this sanded to 400 grit. What I'm going to do now is put a little decoration down here with some burnished lines, and then I'm going to put a finish on it, and then I'll be able to part it off. So I'm going to take my Easy Wood detailing tool and I'm just going to put 2 small lines down here. Now apply a sanding sealer. And we'll just denib that with a scouring pad. rubbing it in by hand over the entire piece first, including the brass ferrule at the end, because Yorkshire grit also does a fantastic job at cleaning metals and making them shine. Okay, I'm going to turn this on slow speed. Well, that was a complete disaster. You saw that the spindle got thrown off of the lathe, snapped the small piece that was left there. I must have just got a snag, probably just wrong tool choice. But I have in fact finished it. I've sanded it down to 320 grit and it comes up very nice. Maple finishes very nice. And I thought, well, what should I thought maybe because it got thrown off the lathe, I'll take a torch to it. And then I had an even better idea. I thought I would take my Lichtenberg burn to it. So I've never seen a tool handle with Lichtenberg burning on it. So let's get it done. Okay, so I'm going to take a piece of paper towel, dip it into the baking soda and water solution, and just generally get the wood so that the surface is penetrated by the solution. I said penetrated. Okay, all over, and this will need to be reapplied at some point because the Lichtenberg will dry the wood out as it's doing its thing. And I'm not concerned about the ferrule because I'm not going across the ferrule, I'm going between the ferrule and the wood, so it's not gonna, the ferrule is not going to affect it. Okay, so that is the wood, nice and coated. I'm going to put that there. I'm just going to use a pencil for it to stop up against, and I'm going to put it this way, and I'm going to go between the center and the end and the center and the end, and then keep moving it. Okay, so I'll put my safety glasses on and my safety gloves on, and I'm standing on a rubber mat, and the foot pedal is on a rubber mat. The work and the tool is on a rubber mat, so I'm not grounded in any way, shape or form. So I'm going to take the two probes, uncross them, and put them between the center and the end. Okay, so there's the Lichtenberg Figure burning done. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take it up to the sink in the laundry room and wash off the excess charcoal using a wire brush to remove as much of that as I can, and then I'm going to let it dry overnight. And thanks for watching. I'm just finishing this up actually with some liquid polish. I didn't want to put wax on it because the wax would get stuck in the Lichtenberg Figure. So I'm just kind of buffing it, polishing it with some Old English polish, furniture polish, and it's coming up a treat. I didn't only make one of these, I actually made 4. So I've got a complete set for the carbide cutters that I've got from Kilian tools, and I will actually be selling these hopefully at the Woodstock wood show in September, and I will be no doubt making more because I want a set of these myself for my own carbide cutters. So I'll show you some pictures at the end. Thanks very much for watching. If you made it to the end, I appreciate it. Don't forget to thumbs up, like and subscribe. I will see you for the next project video. Take care now. Idea. You can't see it. Where is it?
It's to your right.
Oh yeah. You can't see it in the camera though. No. Where are they? Where are they? Where are they? Where are they? I can't find my safety glasses.
It's dead.
Where are they?
Over there.
Okay, start again in a 1, 2, 3.